Should you pull for Deuce's FR and BT? Her roles are going to be a support, battery, and healer. Totally haven't seen that before, by the way. Concerto, his skill 1, is an instant turn rate move that FR charges, in which it'll heal the party by 30% of their max HP, grants the party Brave by 100% of Deuce's own max Brave, extends active buffs by 1 turn, grants party max Brave up by 20% for 8 turns, and grants the party her buff Note for 8 turns. Dissonant Sonata, her skill 2, deals 5 HP attacks with all 50% splash, grants the party Brave by 30% of her own max Brave, and granting Crescendo for 6 turns. Requiem of Ruin, her EX, deals 7 split HP attacks, granting party Brave by 50% of Deuce's own max Brave, increases her Brave by 50% of the HP damage dealt. Also, like her skill 1, giving the party Note for 8 turns. Hymn of Healing, her LD, deals 7 AoE HP attacks, healing party by 80% of the max HP, granting party Brave by 50% of her own max Brave, increasing her Brave by 20% of the HP damage dealt, giving 1 free ability use, and granting her overhead Hymn of Healing for 12 turns. I'm surprised I said that in one go. Let's play a duet. Her FR will grant party Note for 8 turns, and also grants the party Brave by 100% of the max Brave. Finale of Wonder, her BT, will grant party Brave by 100% of the max Brave, and then the effect will last 8 turns, granting a party HP cap up of 30%, as well as her follow-up. Attacca, her BT follow-up, will trigger after she moves, granting the party Esperanzo for 1 turn, dealing 3 AoE HP attacks, and granting party Brave by 20% of the HP damage dealt. Her buffs and debuffs, we're gonna go for the notable ones. Crescendo will give her max Brave up by 5% and Brave regen by 5%. Both of these will double depending on how many of your party members have the Note buff. At 0 buffs, it will be 5%, at 1, it will be 10, 2, 20, and then last for 3, it will be at 40%. Hymn of Healing or Overhead will give party HP regen by 10% of the max HP and extend all of her casted buffs by 3 turns. Esperanzo, the buff that her follow-up will bring, gives an HP cap up of 20%. Deuce's Force Conditions. The first condition gives you a 40% whenever the person acting has the Note debuff on them, and you get a 40% when anyone grants a Brave to an ally. Is Deuce's BT necessary? If you're serious about using her in your main party, you might as well. And this is not necessarily just for Deuce, by the way. This is basically for all support units. You might as well get their BTs. That being said, Deuce can still function without it, but you'll be missing out on her good HP cap ups, the rest of her auras, and her damage will suffer without her follow-up there. Should you pull for Deuce? Well, let's look at the very obvious positives that she brings to the table. Aurabot Queen. Tack her onto any party you have, and they will all be doing great damage. Really not much to say. When it comes to Brave supports, very few people do it as good as her. Offensively wise, she can hold up her own quite adequately when it comes to damage. Great AoE damage, her skill 2 doing 5 essentially AoE, EX and LD both doing 7 across the board. Also factoring in her follow-up attack from her BT, on the low end that's 8 AoE HP attacks, and on the high end that's 10 full-on attacks on all enemies. For a mainly support unit, there's not really much more you can ask for in the damage route. I think that's perfectly fine for a support unit. You don't really need more, and especially with Force level 50, once Force times run out, you don't necessarily go all the way back to 0%. Her retention damage is still going to be hitting pretty nice. Also, a very unique thing with her. You see what I did there?
Do me a favor, please. Get out of here.
Her weapon class being unique makes it so a lot of people who try and pull her and build her will likely have the unique Ultima weapon build, because of all the Ultima weapons, unique is one of the more all-encompassing when it comes to offensive units, with great units like Astos that have come out, Renoa, Null, a lot of other great DPS units. Chances are, if you've been playing for an extended period of time, you probably have the Ultima weapon for unique. So if you don't have anyone else needing that Ultima weapon and you give it to Deuce, that is a great bonus to her already great damage. I think that's something worth mentioning, to be honest. And the last big pro that I have for her FR charging is amazing. And that's because her charging is really fast due to her having a Force level 50, but also factoring in that her charging move extends all of her buffs by 1 turn as you take 1 turn. So when you use it back to back like you normally do with Force charging moves, none of your buffs are ever going to expire. You don't have to worry about refreshing anything. You don't have to worry about anything running out. When you're force charging with Deuce, you don't have to worry about any of that. You can just shamelessly spam that skill 1 and you're good to go from the jump. I think that's really awesome. On the downsides of Deuce, one particular FR condition that she has, requiring you to grant Brave to an ally every turn, is a bit restricting. It's not very generic, especially for DPS units and other of the type who might not be able to fulfill that condition. It makes getting full numbers from Deuce's FR a bit of a struggle. It's not the most impossible thing in the world because there are a number of effects nowadays given by other units that can still make selfish units give Brave to their allies somehow. So the more you build your unit roster and the more characters you have available to you, this con might not be as much of a struggle for you, but especially for newer players, I do think that this is pretty significant as a downside. Next negative that I see of Deuce, in order for your party to really take advantage of her damage capabilities, you need that no buff onto every single party member, and you want that Esperanzo buff that will give you HP damage up, requiring you to have at least 2 buff slots available for every single party member in the fight. Given that each unit only has 6 available slots to give their buffs, you might have some trouble with maxing out your buff slots. And the problem with those slots too is that debuffs can also fill those slots, and if you're dealing with framed debuffs, keep in mind also that Deuce cannot cleanse at all with her kit. You need to find someone else or some other call to cleanse that for you. Deuce cannot do that by herself, unfortunately. And the third con, in my opinion, as much as a lot of people have been raving about Deuce and how good she is, and don't get me wrong, she is a fantastic unit. However, from my personal view, her pull value as a very good Force level 50 support unit is lowered significantly with other really good support units receiving their Force level 50. For example, you have Aerith, you have Rosa, you have Ursula. In my opinion, if you're hurting for resources and you already have Aerith, you already have Rosa, you already have Ursula, like I do, I have all 3, I don't think Deuce should be as big of a pull priority as some other really great units that fill different roles that you might need. I would be very careful to try and pull for her and build her. Pulling and building units is not cheap by any means. I would reevaluate the support units you already have on board. Will it really help you if you get Deuce and the support units that you have already aren't good enough? If she's a favorite and you are a favorite of type 0, go ahead and pull for her. I'm just mainly talking from a meta standpoint. I unfortunately do not have enough to pull for her BT and green her at the moment, so I probably will be skipping. However, I cannot deny that she's a really good unit. Thank you guys so much for watching with me. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!